Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open House at the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. We may have had some technical difficulties because, unfortunately, my entire team isn't here with me right now. I hope some of you who intended to be here live are getting to watch this. If not, I'm going to go through the whole open house now on my own, do it as a recording, and then you can get to watch it later. So apologies if you registered but didn't get to actually be seeing this live. If you are here live, feel free to ask questions. Usually, again, I'm here with my entire team, but we had some technical difficulty. So I'm going to plug away and hope to give you a good introduction to the school. So my name is Matthew Brownstein. I'm the founder and lead instructor of the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. This is open house for January 11th, 2023, and our next enrollment for a 500-hour state-licensed hypnotherapy training begins January 25th, 2023. So let me take you through the PowerPoint, do some screen share, and anybody who's here live, feel free to ask questions at any point. Again, I'm sorry our entire team couldn't make it, but hopefully they'll figure out a way into the meeting room and you get to meet them because it's not just a one-man show, not at all anymore. So let's take a little bit of time with the PowerPoints, and then we'll do some screen share, and then certainly time for Q&A. So the welcome agenda, the way it's supposed to go, is I will give you an introduction to the school. Our student services director, again, if these people can show up, Jenny Warner, will tell you about the student experience. Jenny runs our student services department. So anytime students have questions or challenges or any issues regarding attendance or logging their passcodes, she's there for you 100%. Danny Fox is our COO. Welcome, everybody who's using the chat pod. Awesome. Welcome, Lou. Welcome, Celine. Glad some people are here because we definitely had a technical glitch. Danny Fox is our COO, but also our CAO, which is Chief Academic Officer. So she teaches all of the online live classes, and I'm the one who's in all the school's tutorials. And then we have a whole staff of instructors and supervisors and supervisor aides that take you through the training as well. And again, I'll show you our website, the staff page, so you can get some sense of just how robust we've become over the years. Monica Waterman is our current admissions director. She hopefully will be here tonight to talk to you about the enrollment process. If not, I will. Monica has been with me for about almost 10 years now, I believe. She was here, I would say, maybe it's 8 or something. She's retiring, so we have a wonderful new admissions person, Leslie Lerman, who hopefully will be here tonight as well. So again, it's supposed to be at least 4 people doing this presentation with me. This is my personal mission. I like to share it at first because we are a mission-driven institution, but this is my core mission, and I hope you'll take a moment and think about, do you know your core mission? All right, why are you here? Who are you going to be when you grow up? What is your purpose in life? Our school is based on something I call the Life Mastery Course. It's designed to help you to get success in every aspect of your life. And that all starts with getting clear on your mission. So the school has a mission. Our association for hypnotherapy has a mission. And this is my personal one: to offer the world, through loving service, the wisdom and truths that I've discovered over the years in a way that relieves the suffering of all beings and promotes health, wealth, and enlightenment for myself as others. So if we look into it just a little bit for a moment, we will see offer the world. So we are a global vision, not just a one-man show. We have staff all over the country, graduates all over the world now. Some of our staff over in Switzerland and England, India, so the Philippines. So we've really been growing, and I believe because my mission is global. And if you're part of the school, one of our staff has said, this is like a movement now. And I didn't intend for it to be, but I have a mission, and I hope you're resonating with the idea that the next line, through loving service. Hypnotherapy is profound in helping people to change their lives. It is an amazing tool, and every time I've interviewed on a podcast or meet somebody new and they ask me about it, personally, I am part of a Zen monastery, and I was talking to somebody there recently, and they said, they just met me, like, what do you do? And I said, hypnotherapy. And they're like, interesting. Why? I said, well, we know the root cause of suffering is the mind, but what do we do in a professional setting to really heal the mind? Of course, we have psychotherapy, but when I was going through college, honestly, at that time, which was 25 plus years ago, I wasn't impressed. I was looking at who are the leaders in these fields, and then I was looking at the leaders in the fields of spirituality and monasteries and ashrams, and the great spiritual traditions, and it was the saints and sages that, these monks who've dedicated their lives to inner peace, to tap into the radiance of who they really are and to develop that clarity and that bliss. I wanted something that would move me and others towards that. So it says to offer the wisdom and truths I've discovered over the years. That relates to me being a religion and philosophy major in college after a profound spiritual awakening that got me started on the path. And I had an experience when I was only 19 years old of such profound bliss and peace and oneness and love. And everything just seemed like we were one self. The experience went away the next morning, but it changed me forever. And I kept finding ways to tap back into that again: yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, chanting, anything possible. Good. Our CMO, Danny Fox, is here, so it won't be just me tonight with you guys. So by going very deep into the mystical branches of the world's different wisdom traditions, I realized we could tap into that joy and that power and that oneness and the strength, everything that comes from knowing who you really are. And out of that arises an immense compassion to be of service to others. So you see the Buddhist influence here: to relieve the suffering of all beings. Right? So how do we do that? If you get down to the root common denominator, what are all of the problems we deal with? Essentially, it is the mind. Right? But what modality can really get to the root cause of mind and make those type of changes that we're looking for? What type of modality can bring about health, both spiritual, mental, emotional, physical health, wealth, to increase prosperity consciousness, to have a more abundant life? That all comes from your mind. And of course, enlightenment, right? The highest that we can conceive of and achieve. Like, what did Buddha achieve under the Bo tree? It wasn't a diagnosis and Prozac, right? He didn't go to years of psychoanalysis to figure out why he was so neurotic, right? What happened to that one person who sat in meditation for 6 months under a tree, right? When they asked him, what happened to you? He said, I woke up. He woke up to who he really was. He woke up to his fullest potential. And that happened when he was about 36 years old. He lived to about, I think it was 81 or 89 years old. He lived for a good 60-something years teaching the Dharma, teaching these deep teachings that bring people to true peace. So everything in our hypnotherapy school, while not religious, is rooted in deep traditions that guide people to a more enlightened state. And then this mission concludes: for myself as others. It's the only thing I've tweaked over the years to say, I am you, you are me, we're all one self, and your happiness is mine, your prosperity is mine. Helping to empower people in careers, to help you to be your own boss, to make your own hours, to be of service to others in a way that's really meaningful for you, is really meaningful for me. So I hope that just gives you a feel for the spirit behind what we're doing here. All right. So once again, this is the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy, open house on January the 11th, and the next enrollment on January the 25th. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of the school. We'll talk a little bit more about my personal journey and credentials, but then enough about me. Mostly, of course, we're here for you. Talk to you about our team. And again, at least I have Danny here. I can introduce you to you later. The importance of state licensure and high educational standards in our field. The IIH, the Hypnotherapy Association, that we created because the standards in our profession were so low that I just needed to have higher standards in anything that I do. So I'm really proud of what we've done over the years. And again, I hope tonight can give you a good sense of that. So what is hypnotherapy? We'll talk about a bit tonight. And then what is our brand, our approach to hypnotherapy, which is interpersonal. For those of you who are familiar with A Course in Miracles, miracles are interpersonal and miracles are mental. Miracles are shifts that occur in the mind. They shift us from fear to love, from illusion to truth, from ego to spirit. For those of you who have some sense of what that means, a miracle is an instantaneous shift. It's not bound by time. And again, it occurs in the mental level, and it is always rooted in our relationships. So interpersonal hypnotherapy is very deep in the sense that we are really working to allow for miraculous change to occur. That starts in the mind, and quite often we see that in our bodies. like psychosomatic illness. By definition, the mind is causing the illness. And what happens when we shift the mind and instantly see pain and suffering go away, right? So miracles aren't to manipulate matter. They're to lovingly, compassionately, through forgiveness, based on our relationships, make deep shifts in the mind. So again, the rabbit hole goes really deep here. The teachings go quite deep. And yes, it's a hypnotherapy school, but anybody who goes through it realizes, wow, this is so much more. So brief overview. Why us? Why the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy as opposed to other schools? And styles of delivery, online or in-house. So let's go to the first bullet point, the history of the school. I founded the school in 2007 with my dear mentor, Mr. Gil Boyne, who's now passed away. But my journey goes back before that, a spiritual awakening, as I mentioned, in 1992, studying religion and philosophy, and then trying to say, what do I do with that? And outside of the university, studying yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, all the deep spiritual teachings, reading countless books, and then saying, what do I do with this information? I went to Chinese medical college, thinking that if I could be an acupuncture physician, I could help to clear the blockages to the awareness of love's presence. I could help people to open up to their full potential. But after 2 different Chinese medical colleges, I started concluding, I don't think putting needles in people is going to do what I really want to do. I don't think that prescribing herbs and still in the diagnostic model, as beautiful as Chinese medicine was, something just wasn't clicking. Then I went for a hypnotherapy session for myself. Somebody just recommended I get hypnotherapy. I didn't even know what it was. And I came out of the hypnotic state at the end of this session, which was quite profound. But that, I don't even remember the session. I just remember right when I was coming out of hypnosis, there was a voice as clear as day right in front of my face, not a voice I was unfamiliar with, but a voice that said something that I'll never forget. It said, "You are going to hypnotherapy school." I said, no, my arrogance at the time. I said, no, I'm going to I'm going to be a doctor of Oriental medicine, right? I'm not going to be proud to be an acupuncture physician. It said, no, you're going to be a hypnotherapist. I'm like, odd, interesting. I started researching it. And within a few days, I was like, sign me up. I did as much hypnotherapy training as I could. I just devoured everything. And now our team knows, and Danny can talk to you about it if she popped out, but if she gets back in, can talk to you tonight. She'll tell you most likely about how I've skimmed the best of the top off of everything, and I only teach techniques that really work and make powerful change. I ran my private practice in hypnotherapy from 97 to 2007. I was seeing about 25 full-paying clients per week, and I'll show you some math tonight. You can figure out how much you can make in this profession, and it can be significant if you apply yourself. Right? Even if you said, well, just $100 a session, do the math at 25 clients a week. Before I opened the school, I was charging $230 a session. So again, you can do the math. As a state licensed school, which we are, we never promise what you'll make in graduation. The numbers I'm saying are numbers of what I've done, what other graduates have done, but the results you get, of course, from this and your own. And if you have time for question and answer tonight, if you're curious about specific aspects of this profession, we'll be happy to talk to you about that. Most people are just self-employed with this. Like I said, you get to be your own boss, you get to make your own hours, and you get to just live your life on your own terms instead of working for somebody else and making them rich. And we do teach you through this school because of my mission to create more wealth in our world. We teach you how to turn the income into more income. Most of our graduates now, not most, let me say some, I don't know how many, of our graduates now have worked with the model of creating multiple income streams. And the beauty of that is even when you're seeing clients or you're sleeping, you can still be making money. So we have a really robust advertising and marketing, business and practice management sections in our training. Our chief marketing officer offers a best practices business support group through the school that we just launched this year, as well as a Hypno Buddies group. And great, we've got Monica and Jenny here with me. Thank you for being here. So I'll introduce you to these lovely ladies soon enough. All right. So I ran my private practice for 10 years. When I opened the school in 2007, like I said, my dear mentor, one of the leaders in the field, Mr. Gil Boyne, he set a standard for hypnotherapy as a real occupation. He was one of the people way back in the 70s who helped to make hypnotherapy a legitimate profession. So the US Department of Labor and the Department of Education acknowledge hypnotherapy as its own profession. You don't need previous degrees. You don't have to have any prior education. We actually, at the time of this recording, don't even require a high school diploma to go through our school. That's because it's my belief that to transform the world, everybody, like in Buddhism, if we are all Buddha, if we all have Buddha nature, using spiritual terms, right? If you're a soul, if you're a spirit, if you're the part of the divine happening as you, however you might describe that. But if you're an amazing being, I don't care what credentials you have. So we are going to raise those standards, at least high school diploma. But seriously, if you want to have your own career, help people, be your own boss, and really be of service to humanity, I want to offer you the opportunity to do that in a profession that's really going to blow your mind if you really don't know much about this yet. So when I opened the school with Gil helping me out, he had required state licensure for his schools, and I really admired that. So I went through the in-depth process, expensive and challenging process of becoming a state licensed school. So we were the first, and I believe still currently the only state licensed school by the U.S. Department of Education through the branch called the Commission for Independent Education to offer legitimate state licensed diplomas in this field. We're the first one in Florida, still the only. There's only been a handful of state licensed schools in the country. And when I started realizing that a lot of Gil Boyne's schools weren't actually licensed, and when he passed away, his organization was kind of falling away for a while. I'm not sure where it is now, but at the time, there just wasn't strong leadership. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this on my own, to actually create our own association and step away from Gil and actually to kind of stand on the shoulders of such a giant. I realized that's the way to go. We need to get out there more in a bigger way. So we created our own association. On the screen, you'll see called the IIH, the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists. This school has been around for 15 years now, since my math is correct, maybe 16 now. Since May of 2007 was the first class. It was just me. I didn't have any staff at the time, and it was 25 students. So it started off really strong. We're now up to 57 classes, I believe, that we've brought people through the training, 57 groups, 57 unique start dates, and over 1,000 people have gone through the school now, or at least we're right around there. I can't tell you the exact number, but I'm almost positive over 1,000 people have enrolled in this school and most likely have graduated. So right around that number. We talked about my personal journey, credentials. So again, philosophy and religion were my degree. And then background in Chinese medicine, and then very in-depth, long-term, like every training I could grasp, hypnotherapy training to be able to devour this, just like really absorb this information and then spit it back out to you in a way that's highly duplicable. So if you train in any of our school locations, we've trained all over the country now, all over Florida, Naples, Tampa, Orlando, Hollywood, Miami. I'm forgetting one other, but about 5 or 6 locations in Florida we've done our trainings in: Dallas, Texas, North Carolina, Virginia, Washington State, California, Utah. So we've been all around the country now. And what can I say? We've been growing really strong. Let me take a moment to show you our website, and we'll just introduce you to our staff just visually. All right. Okay, there you go. So you should be seeing our website. If not, bear with me. I haven't used the software in a while. This is our staff page. It's me, of course. If you want to learn more about me, there's a link there. Danny Fox is our Chief Academic Officer. Should be here tonight. Saw her here, and then she popped back out. Monica Waterman, been with me for quite a while, retiring soon, but she'll be here tonight to talk to you. about what it's like to enroll in the school. Corey Benship leads our best practices business support groups. He's our chief marketing officer, and he runs a Hypno Buddies group to help graduates to succeed. And all of those classes are free, by the way. Jenny Warner, who's here tonight with us, our student services director, who I mentioned. Claudia Kane is our chief business officer. Tina is our chief financial officer. Mariah will be launching with me IGE business networking groups to help you guys to get even more community interactivity. Darletta does all of our branding, graphic design. Kel is the director of research, and you'll see here under the IAIH, under resources, which I'll come back to in a moment, hypnotherapy research. If you want to know how this stuff works, does it work? So it absolutely works. Kim O'Hara is our publishing consultant, and she'll be taking 2 groups, one coming up in February, through the process of how to get published. So we're encouraging our graduates to write their own books, tell their own story, get out there. Aside from that, Mike helps us with marketing. The rest are our teaching staff, Renee and Rebecca in Orlando, Bianca, Christine, and Ashley in Tampa, Andrew out of Utah when he does trainings with us, Esteban out of Miami when we do trainings with him, and then Lori teaches online with Danny, and then the rest of the supervising staff, as well as guest lecturers along the bottom. Mary does beautiful work in psychic intuitive teachings, and that's part of our school's training. And then Lygia does really wonderful grief and loss work that's become part of our conferences usually. And then Dr. Clemens brings emotional intelligence teachings to the school. So it's been a wonderful team that I've been honored to grow with over the years. And there's a lot of people who are on the team that aren't on that list who are in training to eventually end up on that list. So with that said, go back here. All right, let's take a moment and make it friendly and interactive. Any questions at this point from anybody who's here live before I continue on? Great, I got Leslie here as well. Okay, everybody but Danny. So hopefully you get to meet some of our other staff soon enough. All right, I'm going to keep yapping for just a bit more. And you know what? I said I would go back and review more of the website. Let's do that because I like to be true to my word, and there is some good stuff for you to see there. Give me a sec there, and then we will finish up with the PowerPoints. How do I do this? Share screen. Share screen. All right. So let's take a moment and look at the association. The IAIH, again, the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists. This isn't the school. It became a credentialing and regulatory body because, again, talking about high standards in education and in a profession, my background, again, in Chinese medicine, those are master's degrees, and hypnotherapy is just not at that level. So when I started going through these trainings, I was not terribly impressed with the educational standards. So we have a very clear mission. Values, ethics have become a very important part of this because the ethics in our field were not clearly established. We have very clear levels of credentialing, so we're standardizing it. This is one of our conferences. We'll be doing it again in May. You're all welcome to attend. It's open to the public. This will be live in Tampa and streaming online. We're extremely careful about COVID in our conferences and classrooms. As far as I know, we've never had a student who's gotten COVID in any of our training locations. When COVID really hit, we started massive social distancing, like 10 feet apart. Everybody had to wear a mask. Now, it's better, but we're still super cautious. And again, I haven't had a single report of a student who's gotten sick. So we're really interested in your safety at the conference. There'll be really good standards as well to keep everybody safe, or you could attend online. I'm the author of 5 books. This is one, Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. I'm actually rewriting it because I'm just never done improving. But if you want to get a good sense of the standards that we've put out, as well as the deeper, spirituality behind the work, that's a good book to start with. Again, just some other images of our conferences. So your classroom situation doesn't look like that. Again, I'll just emphasize this is a conference. So here we have our code of ethics. If you just want to learn what have we been doing to help to ensure that not only you are safe, but that your clients are safe. and that if you're working with other medical professionals, which we do in this field, right, that they're safe, that everybody's on the up and up. We've done a lot of legal efforts to protect the profession. There are some states that are a bit more restrictive than others now, and even certain cities and counties. So we're doing our best to help to really ensure that this profession remains a profession, doesn't get stamped out. Because people might say, oh, are you trying to be psychologists or something? Only psychologists can do this. That's not true. And we're not claiming to be psychologists. This is his own unique profession. And we do have to work to protect it, just like massage had to, acupuncture had to, chiropractic had to, naturopathic medicine, right? The leaders in the field need to protect their professions, and we really work as much as we can for that. Professional forums to help to so your clients know what they're getting into, and again, to keep you safe. We recommend liability insurance. We carefully monitor hypnosis laws. We recently updated this around November 2022, so quite recently. Very expensive to pay like legal people to go through and check every single state law. Don't make assumptions about your state. If you're concerned about the law in your state, reach out to us. If you read legalese on your own, it's easy to think, oh, I can't do hypnotherapy on my own if I'm not a psychologist. But that's not true. However, some states are a little bit more restrictive than others. As I said, you can read what's here about your respective state. Since we are rooted out of Florida, actually in New York right now, but since the headquarters of the school is in Florida, we basically do everything around Florida hypnosis law. You can see that outlined somewhere here. If you read the law on your own, you might think, oh, I can't do hypnosis unless I'm a doctor or something. That's not true. So again, you can read it on your own, but reach out to us so we can talk to you about your unique situation. I can tell you, you can absolutely practice hypnosis in all 50 states, but once you start getting into terms like therapy or clinical or medical, then you have to start understanding the law a lot better. But anybody can hypnotize anybody. It just depends on what you're doing it for. If it becomes medical, mental health, or dental, that's where the laws start becoming more restrictive. And we train you in this for sure. Okay, so just saying, don't be afraid of it, but also know that we will ensure that you understand what's called scope of practice assessment, and that we're keeping you operating with the highest standards. We are quite conscious now of HIPAA compliance. If you end up getting referrals for doing hypnotherapy from medical professionals, you are bound by HIPAA. So we have HIPAA training here, and I'm actually in the process now of bringing in a higher level HIPAA training for our students and graduates. And then I mentioned the hypnotherapy research that we have here. So if you want to see, has hypnotherapy been effective for some of these different medical or mental health conditions? Absolutely. And if it can help with this kind of stuff, it can help with all the non-therapeutic, really basic stuff as well. All right. So let's go back here. All right. Any questions from any of our guests at this point? Go ahead, type them if you got them. If not, I'll keep moving us along. Okay, so the importance of state licensure. Let's take a moment with that. As I mentioned, my mentor, Mr. Gilboyne, was big on state licensure. Let me just say we're even bigger than that. The standard is really important. It requires that the Department of Education is backing the diplomas. There's train-out agreements to protect the student in case the school ever went belly up, or I ran off to some other country with your money, right? Like, you're protected by the Department of Education. It requires a clear catalog, clear enrollment agreement, and on-site inspection, yearly license renewal. Again, expensive and time-consuming to maintain the standards. But the thing is, hypnotherapy is its own profession. So if you're going to train someone in this profession as a career, that school needs to be licensed to do so. So if you're going to look into other hypnotherapy trainings, your first question to ask them is, are you licensed by the Department of Education? If they say no, and they tell you a reason why they don't need to be, realize no government agency backs that diploma, meaning your diploma is really not worth more than the paper it's printed on. Now, are there government regulatory bodies protecting you as a consumer or your clients if you didn't have true legitimate credentials? The truth is no. You could probably operate under the radar, get a hypnosis training, for 100 hours on the internet and then call yourself a hypnotist or even a hypnotherapist. But once again, if they're not state licensed diplomas and you're being trained in a career, that's illegal to train people in careers without state licensure. It's like going to becoming a doctor or a nurse and finding out the person who trained you did it out of their garage and didn't have any higher regulation above them. So just be sure if you're looking into schools, state licensed schools, we offer 500 hours for our core training. You can do a lot more than that with us. But right now, the basic core level of training is 500 hours. So if you're saying, well, maybe 100, maybe 200, it would be quicker, it would be less expensive, but it's more than just the quality. It really is the quantity. So really be considering 500 hours of training to do this really at one of the highest levels. Again, there's always more beyond 500, but that's a really good starting point. Great. Iris, welcome. Said, how involved are you with in-person sessions? Are you going to teach any classes yourself, Matthew? What I do is by standardizing everything, I teach behind the scenes. So I teach all of our online interactive tutorials or the interactive distance learning. The reason I do that, and it's extremely time consuming, I'm actually now redoing all those recordings for 2023. So it's our entire team that teaches the online live classes and the in-house or online practicum hours. You'll get hundreds of hours of me just going through the school's online tutorials. It's so time consuming to maintain the standards we do of education and to run the business that I don't get to teach one-on-one anymore or even in the direct classroom setting. But every video you watch going through the school, you're watching me teach or do hypnotherapy, or I might be showing a video of my mentor, Mr. Gil Boyne. But by doing that, even though it's not as one-on-one with students, it allows for a consistent message through everything we do instead of having multiple instructors. So unfortunately, running the business, keeping the high educational standards, and redoing all the school's tutorials takes so much of my time that I don't get to teach one-on-one. But honestly, you're much better off with Danny Fox, who I'm not sure if she'll get to be here tonight. Danny is such a wonderful person, such a wonderful instructor, and the different personality and the different approach makes it a lot better. Students go through the training quicker, better, faster, as she likes to say now. We have a higher completion rate, higher retention rate, and higher graduate placement rate for positive graduate outcomes of employment now that we have Danny as our chief lead instructor for the online live portion. So you can interact with me in different ways throughout the training, but to be honest, very clear, no, I don't get to teach the live classes anymore just because of how consuming it is to run the business. I spend most of my time now just sitting at the computer, just doing, Department of Education type work. And God, I'd rather see clients, I'd rather teach classes, but the way to keep this vision going and to get you trained at the highest levels is for me to just be more of an administration, behind the scenes person now. But again, doing a lot of the school's interactive distance learning in the recordings. It keeps it very standardized, and it lets our teachers duplicate what I do at a very high level. So you'd be really pleased with our instructors, but not as much me. There's Danny, hopefully getting in. Okay, great. And then I think you asked about private sessions. I only see one client a week now. Again, I'm just too busy. And I do have to charge a lot per hour because of how valuable my time is. But if anybody really wants to have private sessions with me, it is possible. But usually our school, if you even get to me, before you get to me, we're usually referring you to our other high-level staff and graduates. Okay, thanks for the question. We have other people here tonight who are going to talk to you. So let me move through this. All right, we talked about state licensure, about the association. Let's talk briefly about hypnotherapy. Like, what is this thing? Just a couple minutes. The altered state of hypnosis gives us access to our subconscious mind. What is the subconscious and why is it so important? Your subconscious is the seat of your emotions. It's the seat of your belief systems. It's where your memories are stored. So just those three things. Think about all your memories, which can be a lot of traumatic ones, all the negative beliefs, which could be seriously limiting, and then all those negative emotions. That's all stored inside of us. We can call that our subconscious mind. The subconscious does more than just store information. It's the dynamo that directs our energy, it governs our behaviors. So essentially, everything you think, do, and feel, the mass of the iceberg is that part of you. The tip of the iceberg is just your conscious mind. What is your conscious mind? It's the one who's in there saying, why am I so neurotic? Why am I so screwed up? Why can't I stop smoking? Why can't I make more money? Why can't I find the love of my life? It's not because of your conscious mind. It's the 90% rest of you, which is really usually quite poorly programmed. So hypnosis gives us direct access to that mind. In the old model of psychoanalysis, like Freudian analysis, they would analyze that mind. Freud did use hypnosis and eventually dropped it, which is a really fascinating history, but he ended up going more into this dream analysis and transference work. But the truth is, most modern day psychologists don't do Freudian work anymore. But what happened in the analytical model, you only analyze the subconscious. In hypnotherapy, we talk directly to it. And Freud did this. There's just a lot of reasons why he dropped it. But when somebody's in hypnosis, and there weren't good reasons, by the way, we just don't have time for that tonight. But when you get somebody into hypnosis, you can put new information in, but you could also process the information that's already in there. So in the subconscious, in your heart, you have what's called an inner child. It's the little boy or girl who lives inside who is sad and scared and hurt and angry and feels guilty. And that little boy or girl is carrying belief systems like I'm worthless, I'm useless, I'm not good enough, I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm unlovable. That stuff is really limiting to who we are and our fullest potential. In hypnotherapy, we can regress back to the cause of those memories, those beliefs, those emotions. We can rapidly, really profoundly transform them. And what gets spit out on the other side, to use nice imagery there, to spit you out on the other side, we in our school like the model of creating healed healers. So as you go through our school, you're not only going through intense personal and spiritual growth, but you're being empowered with these skill sets to help others to do the same. And knowing that that's what we do, and we've got 1,000 people now like around the world who are doing this work, my goal is actually 1,000 graduates that we can measure seeing 15 clients per week. That's 15,000 hypnotherapy sessions per week happening because of us. We're not there yet. The goal is to be able to measure that. And I hope you can be one of those practitioners because the world needs this. So what is hypnotherapy? We're using the altered state of hypnosis to gain access to the subconscious mind. When we do just basic hypnosis, you could say we're programming that mind or reprogramming that mind with better thinking. But hypnotherapy uses powerful transformational modalities to transform the content of the subconscious. And essentially, I believe, and I hope this is coming through, I believe you have the same potential as anybody else. Buddha, Christ, Tony Robbins, like put Tony in a pretty high category with Buddha and Christ, but we only have so much time for the list. Anyway, if you could think of great leaders, role models, spiritual giants, we have the same potential. We train you in neuro-linguistic programming. I am a master neuro-linguistic programming trainer. We do 100 hours of NLP additional training in the school. And NLP essentially says the same thing. If someone else can do it, so can you. Okay, so that's the basics of hypnosis and a tad about NLP. For interpersonal hypnotherapy, again, that's our own brand, but I'll tell you the brief story about how that came to me. I was in meditation. I was asking my higher wisdom, what is hypnotherapy? And I said, is it transpersonal? Is it about that higher connection to spirit? And the voice said, yes, and it is also interpersonal. I was like, wow, I never even thought of that word. And then the more I meditated and contemplated it, I realized interpersonal, the connections we have with each other, you and your client, your inner child and your inner dad or mom and your subconscious. It's all about relationships. I can't go into all of that. It takes hundreds of hours to teach you interpersonal hypnotherapy. But I can say that the more you grasp the depth of this work, you'll understand that the word interpersonal goes way beyond even the deepest transpersonal teachings that we offer here. So once I realized, like, oh, that's who we are, that's our branding, that's what we became. So we changed the name of the school at that time, and not long after founded our association. Hello, Lou, who said, is there going to be a graduation ceremony, and is there going to be a bachelor's degree DOR hypnosis soon? So graduation ceremony, most of our training is done online. And therefore, honestly, when Danny, she's not here, maybe one of our other staff could answer, I honestly don't know what happens anymore. It's just, I've delegated those jobs. But I can say the online training most likely does not going to have its own ceremony. Our other locations in January, we're training in Tampa and Orlando. Those groups do their own thing. But because the trainings happen in 3 different locations, online, Tampa, and Orlando, the Tampa and Orlando groups would tend to be smaller things, like just going out to dinner, handing out your diplomas then. But because we're so much online now, and because we're in these separate locations, we don't tend to have any real robust graduation anymore. I'm sorry for that, actually, although, again, I think our other groups are doing, smaller things in Tampa and Orlando. But when everything was all in one place, and we had like 30 students in a room, yeah, graduations were awesome. But distance learning, well, as wonderful as distance learning is, and really it is a great thing, it has kind of made the graduation not what it could be. But maybe one of our other staff could speak to it, because honestly, I'm not even sure what some of our groups do anymore. Okay, and then will there be a bachelor's degree? I don't talk too much about where we're going beyond where we're at, because in education, there's certain rules about that. But what I can tell you is I most likely would be skipping the bachelor's and going right towards master's. So if you already have a bachelor's, it makes it a lot easier, because then you could just apply for the master's degree, go into it. The level of hypnotherapy now doesn't have you as a licensed practitioner of the healing arts. You're not a doctor, you're not a psychologist, you're not a social worker, right? Those are higher level degrees that require a master's or higher. To be on par with them, you really need a master's degree. A bachelor's doesn't mean anything. Getting an associate's, in hypnotherapy, it doesn't mean anything as far as getting to be a licensed practitioner, nor does having a bachelor's. So honestly, my goal is, next step, we're not quite there yet, probably be in about 3 years. It is the plan. And again, I shouldn't say much online publicly, but the plan is to move into a master's degree for this. So anyway, that's the brief theme. Danny said in the chat pod, that is correct. Each group decides how to celebrate separately. Okay, so thank you, Lou. So yeah, there is no bachelor's degree in hypnotherapy as far as I know now, but I wouldn't even waste your time because it won't help you when it comes to getting a license to practice therapeutic hypnosis. Getting a master's degree in this will, and yes, it's our plan to go there. Great. Carrie said, hi, everyone. I'm excited to start on the 25th. Awesome. How many hours per week should we prepare to set aside to study? 12, 15, or 18? So we've changed our schedule. Correct me, Steph, if I'm wrong, who's here. It used to be 15 hours per week, but I believe the January class, you have longer for every 100-hour section, which we'll explain to you tonight. Every 100 hours used to take 6 weeks. Now it's taking closer to 7 to 8 weeks. Because of that, it gives you a little bit more flexibility each week to not have to do as much work to stay on par with your class. So minimum number of hours per week that our current catalog shows, at least the April catalog we've been working on, I know shows 12 and a half hours per week. We've been recommending 15, and you should probably just think 15. While you watch, let's say, 15 hours of me teaching, at the same time, there's going to be mild, but some homework, right? You're going to probably want to read a book. You're going to want to look through your note cards and prepare for the in-house or online practicum hours. So 15 hours per week is good to budget. 18, as you asked, probably a bit much, but I think 15, you should be just fine. Awesome. Thanks, Carrie, and welcome to the school. All right. Iris said, could you go over what tests and exams we would have to take to be certified? Sure. Every 100 hours in our training requires an online exam, multiple choice, 25 questions. And I would say most of our students get 90+%, because technically as an online test, it's open book, right? How are we going to stop you from looking at the training manual to find the answer? So the quizzes are relatively easy by actually having references to what, like we have a study guide for you, and it'll say, okay, this question, the answer is basically on page 12 or whatever of the training manual. So that's not to try to make you fail, it's to encourage you to focus on the important things that I really want you to know when you graduate. So the online exams are really super easy. 25 multiple choice questions done 5 times over 500 hours. Every 100 hours, you take a quiz. At the end of the entire training, you take what we call our regression therapy protocol clinical qualifying exam. It's the IIH clinical qualifying exam. That is a 16-step protocol. It does take the full 500 hours to really grasp it, even though the majority of it is learned in the first 300. You're still going to need a good 12 to 16 weeks to really be able to perform that well. So that's something you have to study for. You have to memorize it. You have to practice. But again, our average exam score is over 90%. So we're not here to fail you. It's our desire to get you out there. And if you just go through the training and do what we tell you to do, it's really, I don't want to say it's not that hard. It can be challenging. I'm not going to lie. It can be challenging to go through a training like this. But if you apply yourself, again, graduates who do usually end up with a 90+%. If you didn't pass an exam for any reason, you just retake it, right? We just tell you what you got wrong, tell you what you need to study, and retake it. But very rare does somebody have to retake the exam. And I can't even think of anybody who failed maybe like once or twice out of years and years of running the school. So exams, nothing to worry about at all. Great. Julie, welcome. Said, where should we be with Module 1 before our first class on the 25th? You don't have to be anywhere before the 25th. So basically, just show up on the 25th. We'll go through a 3-hour orientation, maybe a little bit longer because there's so much to cover these days. But about 3 hours to orient you to the school. At that point, the clock starts ticking. Then you have to start logging your attendance, showing your passcodes, attending the online live classes with Danny. So that's anything you do before that just makes it easier once you start on the 25th. But yeah, you don't have to be anywhere on the 25th. Just show up, and anything you've done before is just some bonus in your part. We don't let you go beyond each 100 hours until you've gone through them. So you do 70 hours of online training, then you do 30 hours of practicum hours. That's either online or in-house. But until you go through that 100-hour module, we don't move you to the next module. So even if you've been cranking through and you're like, wow, I finished, I got 4 more weeks to go, repeat the first module, repeat the first section of training, because going through it a second time, which we always allow you to do, you can repeat this training at no charge is our current policy. There's some policies there, but generally, that's the theme. So just ask us for details. But you can repeat this training at no charge. So yeah, if you're going through really fast, you're loving it, you're absorbing it, but you're way ahead of your class, go back and repeat the information. If not, just show up on the 25th and we'll get you started at that point. Great. Thanks, Julie. Celine said, I was wondering how the practice sessions are conducted. Who are the people that we practice our skills on? You practice on each other, which is wonderful because you get to give and receive hypnotherapy. We keep a 1-to-5 teacher-to-student ratio, which is extremely generous for you guys. It's very expensive for us to do that. I heard a school recently was like 1 to, I don't know if they have this many students, but it was like a 1-to-75 or something, teacher-to-student ratio. I don't know, that's can't work. In our school, all of our teachers insist only 1-to-5, even when the 6 is pushing it with us. So under direct supervision, whether it's done online, which it can be done online, absolutely. We're licensed to do that. It works really well, and it's very safe and it's easy, right? You don't have to be in a room with other people, possibly getting COVID, and you don't have to travel and pollute the environment with your car. So again, the online practicals are great, but we do have, as I've said, locations in Tampa and Orlando if you do want that in-person experience. You practice on each other. So in a group of 5, there will be the supervisor who's not a student. This is a person who has at least 2 or 3 years experience, but most likely you'll be with an instructor. And I would say our average instructor probably has close to 8 to 10 years of experience. So you're really well supervised. You practice, then they practice on you, and then you watch 3 other sessions. So you're actually seeing the technique 5 times over. It is better to work with your classmates than it is to work with the public. This isn't like cutting hair. Right? You can't just pull people in off the street and say, hey, we're going to practice on you for 30 hours in a weekend. So it works really well to have you practice on each other. Your classmates make it a lot easier for you to practice on them. You do get some really profound transformation yourself by going through these practical hours. It's 150 total practical hours. However, we don't really require or recommend that the practical hours are where you're hoping to get your own therapy. If you really want to be sure you get that transformation, which honestly does happen in the school, but we encourage you to get 5 hypnotherapy sessions from one of our higher level staff members or graduates. That's where the real transformation occurs. So get your own hypnotherapy sessions. You can reach out to the school if you want to learn more about that. Have us refer you to somebody. Refer you to work with a practitioner. But there's 150 hands-on or online practical hours that occur, and you work with your classmates. Great. Danny said, yes, there are now 7 to 8 weeks between each module, much more relaxed pace than before. You can do it, said Danny. Lou said, can we do our lab hours online as well? Yes. Or do we have to go to an IIH campus and do it live with an instructor? So it is live when it's done online. When COVID hit, we were always 70% online, or not always, but for many years, we were 70% online, 30% in-house. When COVID hit, I resisted doing the practical hours online, but eventually I realized we need to start trying this. So we got licensed by the Department of Education to do it. It took over a year to get that approval. Finally, when we started beta testing it, amazing. Really, it was like there was nothing lost at all. It was safer, it was more efficient, it was just generally easier. So you can rest assured if you do it online, it's a great experience and you'll learn it just as well. You don't get to hug your classmates. You don't get to do the most. Hypnotherapy involves very minor levels of touch, like rolling the head, lifting and dropping an arm. Like 1% of what we do involves touch. So you're not missing much at all. But if you're really a touchy-feely kind of person, in this day and age in COVID, you might not want to be. But if you really want that in-person experience, we definitely offer it. We work to really keep our classes safe, like I said. But yes, you can do it online, and you miss very little. But it could be argued you actually get a whole lot more. We just don't have time to go into why. Okay, great. Good. Thanks for dropping by and saying hi there, Greg. Okay, let me finish up my part because I do have other people who are going to talk to you tonight. Styles of delivery, we talked about briefly, online or in-house, 70% online, 30% is either online or in-house. That's essentially how it works. Why online? Well, one, if you are in a live class and the teacher says something and you miss it, it's gone. If you didn't take notes or record it, it's gone. But in the 70% live or online tutorials with me, you can go back and rewatch a video as much as you want to. If you fell asleep, you can go back and watch it again. If you felt like, wow, that was great, I want to just, take notes and dissect what he just did there, you can go back. 10 years later, if you're a graduate in good standing, you want to go back and watch those videos, you can do them again. And if they're updated, which they will be soon, you get to keep seeing the updated library version coming out. So it keeps the training actually quite new and fresh. Some of the videos we show are a little bit older for sure, but the techniques are exactly the same. So not much has changed in what we do. So the online medium has been great to deliver the education. Again, it lets you watch it over and over. It lets you go at your own pace. You have to pace with your class, but it lets you go at your own schedule, right? If you want to do the training from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., you can do that. If you want to do it on weekends, you can do that. So it gives you incredible flexibility. It lets you go at a very reasonable pace. And then when you do the practicum hours with your class, either online or in-house, you're very well prepared for that because the online training has prepared you for the practicum. Obviously, there's a lot to cover with that, but I hope that gives you a pretty decent answer to the question. Let's take a moment and talk about money. Most people like this discussion. Again, no guarantee on what you'll make. It shows here potentially $250,000 per year. I'm not saying you'll make that much. This is just math, right? But let's say you did half of that. You'd still be in a 6-figure income. Honestly, you could do over $100,000. If you do the math, you can see if you saw 15 clients per week and you charge enough per hour, 15 clients per week is only 30 hours per week. It's almost like a part-time job. But if you did 40 hours per week, you can potentially make some really nice money. Now, it's not about the money, it's about helping people. So don't prioritize the money, prioritize how many people per week will you help. I saw 25 clients per week for the majority of my professional career when I was doing this full time. Now I'm running the school. But when I was full time, I was doing about 25 clients a week, and the most I charged per session was $230 per session. Right? So just do the math. Now, again, your performance when you graduate is completely up to you. You don't get a job in this. You have to open your own practice. You can do it in an office, or you can do it online. Sessions now with COVID are done mostly through Zoom. And again, nothing is really lost in that. The online sessions are really kind of better in a lot of ways, but if anything, just as good. So let's say you charge $70 to $150 per hour. Now, when I started, it was $65 per session, not per hour. Then eventually I got to $70 per hour, then $90 per hour, then $115 per hour. Most of our more successful graduates now charge $150 per hour. Sessions are 2 hours. So usually, that's how I teach you to do it anyway. Give your client a good 2 hours to really help them. But that's $300 a session if you were charging $150 per hour. We encourage graduates to charge $70 to $90 per hour when you graduate, depending on your credentials. If you're already a doctor or psychologist, you can charge your normal hourly rate. But if you're just starting out on this, do the math to say $70 or $90 per hour. I don't know why I skipped 80. You can charge 80 if you want. 20 to, let's say 5 to 25 sessions per week. 30 almost put me in the hospital, so that's a bit much. But 25 is kind of the max. Most of our graduates do 15 clients per week. Again, sessions are 2 hours. So $250 per session, that'd be if you were charging $125 per hour, times 20 clients per week would be $5,000 per week, and then multiply that by 50. So again, just quick math, just figure out your own numbers. Like say, I want to work 20 hours per week. Okay, that's 10 clients per week. I want to charge $200 per session. Just do the math. And when you realize, it pretty easily gets to over $100,000 per year, then I hope, like when I first saw this, when I was considering hypnotherapy, I was like, wow, it's really pretty healthy income. So I encourage you to do that. The dates below are obviously wrong. Okay, what's next? Quickly, we do offer NLP training, neuro-linguistic programming. Like I said, I'm a master practitioner and trainer. So I offer 100 hours. That's done with me. There's the online videos, and then there's the practicum hours, but I lead those practicum hours. And it gives you an additional 100 hours on top of your 500. So highly recommended. Again, we are the IIH, which I already talked about a little bit with you. And I'm the author of 5 books. So if you want to read more about what I offer, these 2 books, The Sacred Geometry of Meditation and The Anahat Meditation System, you can learn more about at onlinemonastery.com. I alluded to kind of my monastic side a little bit earlier, but if you want to go deeper into that, onlinemonastery.com. These teachings are rooted in sacred geometry, meditation, and the healing and enlightenment process. One of the books we use in our school is my book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment. It's rooted in teachings based on the New Thought movement, Course in Miracles, dabbling into Christian Science, not being Christian, but looking at why does that work? Because quite often it works. What's the psychology? What happens mentally when miracles occur? Faith-based healing, something's happening. What's happening? This book really goes into that. My book, Peace Under All Circumstances, you might want to look into during these wacky times in human history. And then, of course, I recommend the Interpersonal Hypnotherapy book. All right, there are abundance of guided meditations online for free on YouTube, and you can find them on our website. So this one is great, Hypnosis for Integrating the Psyche into Wholeness. We've got an inner child, an inner adult, and an inner parent. You do have an inner parent, in case you didn't know. And those parts are usually in conflict, kind of fighting it out with each other. You want to integrate all of that into a wholeness. So if you imagine a split mind, you want a whole mind, but you don't just want 3 kind of healthy ego states. You want to dissolve the ego into who you really are, as whatever word you'd use for that, for spirit, for your Buddha nature, for your true nature, who you really truly are. So this is available on YouTube for free, and there's a lot of others as well. I run the Illuminated Mind podcast with a team of people who helped me to do it. If you're interested in being a guest, reach out to us. And if you're interested in watching or listening to old episodes, you can find them on YouTube or any streaming platform, the main streaming platforms. Again, onlinemonastery.com. This is 100 hours of additional free meditation training that you can find on that site. All right, we did the website screen share. We're not going to take more than about an hour and a half, so I'll ask our staff to use as much brevity as possible, which I did not do. So let me introduce you to Jenny, does the student experience. There's Jenny Warner. Now I'll remove let me just set this up differently. There we go. All right, Jenny, welcome. So Jenny's our student services director. She's going to talk to you about how the training breaks down and what it's like, how she'll support you on the student service side of things. Thank you, Jenny, for being here.
Well, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we'll work on your mic quality next time, but yeah, we got you.
Hang on, I can change it. I can change a setting here. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. Is that better?
It's good enough. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Go on.
So Matthew introduced me as the Director of Student Services, and I'm also a proud graduate of the school. I graduated in March of 21. So it was actually right during COVID, and the school did a beautiful job of managing the teachings during COVID. And I work as the Director of Student Services. I also have a part-time hypnotherapy practice, so I can vouch for the quality of the training and the quality of the staff and everybody that you'll meet along the way. It's an amazing journey to be on, whether you're just starting or like myself, whether you have finished and are a graduate. Matthew mentioned the fact that you always have access to your training, and I think that's a really important point to highlight, because I find myself going back to videos and some of the lessons that I learned as I develop my practice. It's a really valuable thing to have that whole library available to you. So anyway, I'm very proud and honored to be able to serve the students, and I'm with you the whole way. I like to meet everybody by email, by phone, or even in person sometimes in the Tampa office if I can in the beginning. And I'm with you for whatever you need as you move through the course, whether it's questions on schedule, questions on how to get in touch with somebody, questions on your own timing and management of the materials. And because I've gone through the course, I know what it feels like. So I'm here to answer any question and to be here to help you move through the training, and I get to print your diplomas at the very end. So I'll be brief on this. Matthew's touched on a lot of this because of some of the questions, but we've got our 3 different programs, which are 500 hours of state licensed training. The first group, the first 300 hours is hypnotherapist. And taking this 300-hour course allows you to take the exam to become a certified hypnotherapist. And what I would like to say about that is that the other modules, the other 200 hours on top of that, really add on to the learning. So the clinical hypnotherapist course includes the 300 hours, the hypnotherapist program, as well as training in clinical hypnotherapy, which focuses on pain management, working with medical professionals, really fascinating stuff. And the transpersonal module, which is, again, includes both hypnotherapist and clinical hypnotherapist, teaches you about some of the more esoteric things, some of the theories of reincarnation, karma, and really gives you a good understanding of how to incorporate spirituality into your practice. So that's just a bit on those 3 different programs. And if going through, and what Matthew had said in the beginning was the core is that 500 hours. Everything builds upon itself, and you learn so much as you go through each one of these. And going through the 500 hours gives you a certification in each one of those: certified hypnotherapist, certified clinical hypnotherapist and certified transpersonal hypnotherapist. And so for each of the modules, each of the 100 hours, it's broken down into tutorials, online tutorials, which we've talked about, and then this live experiential practice, or practicals as we call them. Those can be done either online or in person. And that's a chance to practice all of what you learn, and practicing on your fellow students is so interesting and such a good way to learn the protocols, and also a way to just connect with your fellow students, whether you're online or in person. The other piece of each 100 hours is that we offer these 3 live classes, or require the 3 live classes per 100 hours, and those are typically 2 hours, and you can jump on live, you can meet your students, you can chat with your instructors, and it's a really great chance to ask questions. And if you can't watch them when we have them, we typically run them from 7 to 9 p.m. They are posted on the website, so you have access to those at a later time if it's not convenient for you. And then for exams, there's a written exam. Matthew's touched on that, and then the oral exam on the regression protocol is the exam that will certify you, give you an IIH certification as a hypnotherapist. There's lots of prep along the way. Danny does a study group for everybody the Thursday night before the transpersonals weekend, and so we've got you, and you'll do well on all of these things. And as far as getting in touch with me, I always available, well, maybe not always, available by phone, by email, through text messaging. I set up Zoom calls with students occasionally to work through technical issues, and we're just here to support you. We're here to support you in your success, to give you whatever it is that you need to make this a fabulous and amazing experience. So I look forward to meeting you someday online or in person. And again, thanks for coming tonight.
Nice. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Jenny. I always appreciate Jenny behind the scenes more than she might ever get to know, because I know she's like the mama bear who's taking all the kiddies through the training, and I'm just so grateful to know everybody's in such good hands. Since Danny can't be here with technical glitches tonight, even though I'd love for you to get to meet her, she's definitely going to be there the first night on the 25th. For the orientation, for those of you who are registered. I'll cover her part now, but let me answer the questions in the chat pod. Iris said, from your experience, do you recommend an office to meet with clients, or is online equally as successful? Honestly, it's a bit hard to say how successful online can be for a total career right now, just because the whole online medium is still so new. What I can say is when I ran my private practice, and that was from 1997 to 2007, I didn't have the internet at all. I never used the internet to build my practice. So a big portion of our advertising and marketing training is the grassroots running an office type of thing, which is, how most human beings always had a career like this, right? You have your own office. Giving public lectures, business networking, having a website, sure, social media, all that. But having that physical presence lets you really work your local community well. I gave a lot of lectures. I would do talks at libraries and bookstores, men's and women's groups, Lions Club, Kiwanis Club. So local networking is great. Now, our Chief Marketing Officer, Corey Benship, as I mentioned, he does all the marketing for the school, and he does a really good job. He's also a graduate, and he's doing our Best Practices Business Support Group, a Hypno Buddies group that trains you in how to run your online business. And he's contributed at least 6 hours to an already robust advertising and marketing business and practice management section. So if you went to do this 100% online, it's absolutely possible. We teach you how to get your website set up. Corey actually can build a website for you at a reduced price because we can do it in mass because, we're a school. So you could ask about, us helping to get a website built for you. It costs some money, but you need one. And then we definitely train you and teach you about online advertising, pay-per-click, SEO, social media. They're absolutely graduates who are rocking it in the social media world, and they have an abundance of clients. I mean, I know there's people who are on waiting lists, but at the same time, when I work to help graduates to kind of figure out what's working, what's not, I can tell you business networking groups where you meet people and they talk to you and they really get to know you, that works really well. You can get a lot of traffic to your website from pay-per-click, but those can be a little bit harder to convert. So could you do it 100% online? We don't have enough track record to say absolutely yes, but can you see clients online? Yes, absolutely. Having an office and doing it online might be, from what I can tell so far, the best option forward. But yeah, if you know how to market yourself online well and you have a really good presence, then I can pretty well say, yes, you could do it. But that's up to you. There's only so much we can train you and encourage you. And a lot of the conversion ratio you'll get about somebody coming to your website and becoming a client has a lot to do with just who you are. And it's kind of hard to change who you are, right? Like you're presenting yourself as a likable person, a professional person, a warm and caring person. When your client calls you and they're considering a session, how do you talk to them on the phone, right? Do you seem like you build rapport? Are you caring? Are you compassionate, right? So we groom you in a lot of that, but a lot of it is you working the step into your greatness. So people say, my God, I want to work with that person. So yes, you can do it online, but there are a lot of variables for your success. I won't pretend you just graduate and 20 clients are waiting to see you. You really do have to learn the business side of this as well, but we train you in that more than any other school that I've ever heard of. So if you have a good chance of succeeding, it would be because of us working to help you as much as possible. Great. Julie said, do you know how many students are signed up for in-person clinicals in Tampa? Not off the top of my head. Monica, who's going to join us in a moment, she could probably grab those numbers before she joins in. I'm going to guess we're at 8 to 10 people currently. Most of the enrollments start happening like now up until the 25th. So that number, whatever number I give you now, will probably double by the time class starts. I would say Tampa groups are an average of about 15 students. Online is an average of about 15. Orlando is usually about 6. We tend to have 30 to 40 students in any one class. But again, those are divided up amongst 3 locations, where Orlando tends to be the smaller group. Online, about 15, Tampa, 10 to 15. Kind of expect that, but Monica might be able to give exact numbers. Greg said, I am seeing 3 to 4. Oh, excuse me one sec, Greg. There were questions before that that I missed. Somebody asked about past life regression. Let me see if we can find that question. I don't see the question, but let me, oh, there it is. Iris said, are we going to practice past life regressions in the practical sessions as well? Yes, when you get to transpersonal. So we keep transpersonal for last, save the best for last, but no, we, I think it's all, all really good, equally good stuff. But we save the transpersonal for last because not everybody's into the spiritual stuff, right? Some people are Christian, perhaps. Some people don't believe in past lives. Some people just don't like the spirituality. So we kind of tone that down for the first 300 hours. We get a bit more metaphysical when we talk about healing in the clinical section. But once we get to transpersonal, 100 hours, all out spiritual teachings. So that's when you get into the past life regression, life between life regression, future progression, astral projection, remote viewing, alien abduction, entity attachment, altered state work, right? Like the really cool stuff. You do practice the past life regression, and if you like, the life between life regression protocols in the transpersonal practicals. So yes, and there are actually just recordings that you can listen to in the transpersonal with me guiding you into past lives and into life between life. Yeah, sometimes just the recording alone is enough to get you there. But yes, you will have the experience in practicals. Great. Greg said, I am seeing 3 to 4 people per week as a part-time business, 100% online. Very good success. Clients really like it. Awesome. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that contribution. Okay, I need to cover Danny's section, and then we'll invite Monica in to wrap it up to tell you what it's like to enroll with us. All right, and I will remove Jenny for now, so you don't have to feel self-conscious there, Jenny. All right, then we'll bring Monica in a sec. So this is Danny's section, a deeper dive, the student and graduate experience. So as we've said, 70% of the training is done online. Those are called, it's called interactive distance learning. You're watching videos of me, so you can get more than enough of me, taking you through everything you need to know. And I'm preparing you essentially for the practical hours. You work at your own schedule. It says work at your own pace, but again, I've corrected myself in that language because you do want to pace with your group. It's just you can go at your own schedule. But let's say the pace is too fast for you. You're like, wow, I can't keep up with the class. I got sick. I had a family member who died. You can simply go on leave of absence and then pick it up again with the next class. And you can do that as many times as you want to. The Department of Education doesn't let us limit you as long as you're reapplying through our policies properly. So if you go on leave of absence, you just pick it up again essentially when you're ready, but you do have to follow the policies in our catalog clearly. But they are designed for you, not for us to just get all your money and then not let you continue the training. The Department of Education really requires that we're helping you to get through the training at your own pace. And because so much of this is distance learning, it really allows you to go at your own pace. But the training takes about 9 months to go through, and you just want to budget that, saying, all right, 15 hours per week. I'm going to commit to that pretty much for 9 months. If you can do that, then you will graduate with these legitimate state licensed diplomas, unlike, just the degree granting mills of like do it for a weekend. So, it's a real legitimate career training. But yes, you can go at your own pace, even if it means you have to transfer to another class if you're falling behind. All right, 30% is live experiential, in person or online, as we said. There's instructor interaction for 30 hours per every 100-hour section, plus the 6 hours of the live classes that occur online when you're interacting with Danny as one of the lead instructors. Student cohort interaction and small group interaction. So as I described before, the 1 to 5 student to teacher ratio. So you're never in a group of like 30 people getting lost, right? There's always a supervisor there helping you through every step of the way. The graduate experience, how graduates are using this training. Like I said, most are just self-employed. Some have offices, some are doing it just online. But again, we know of a lot of statistics for what the online only experience has been. There are definitely graduates who end up getting referrals from doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, dentists. We definitely teach you about in the clinical training how to work in conjunction with medical professionals, how to do lunch and learns where you teach doctors and dentists about hypnosis. They end up referring to you. And yeah, if a client comes to you and they say, I have a medical condition, you say, okay, great, just get a referral from your physician and then I can work with you. That's one of the laws that we teach you about. The beauty of working with that law is you start acting as a real professional, saying, okay, this is a medical condition. We're going to do it in coordination with your physician. And I would say, it's not a hardcore statistic, but 95+% of the physicians, when you say to your client, I need to get that referral from your doctor to work in this medical condition, the doctors say yes. And then they end up referring more people to you. I've had doctors who literally have brought patients into my office personally, physically, realizing they couldn't help that person, and yet I could. I gave talks for years called Healing the Mind, Healing the Body. So I really went deep into the medical aspect of this work. It's extremely rewarding. In our clinical training, we teach you how to do that. All right. So that's a little bit of how you can use it after you graduate. Lifelong access to the material after graduation. Like I said, because we're largely a distance learning school, you can just go back into the online library, which is well over 500 hours of material, and just watch stuff over and over as much as you want, really. Support with continuing education. We don't have time tonight, but in orientation, or if you just go to our website, you'll see an abundance of CEU courses. Depending on how you calculate that, there are probably over 500 hours of CEU courses through our conscious community and other smaller CEU classes. So you can check those out in the bookstore of our website. Mentoring and business development. So I've mentioned the Best Practices Business Support Group, the Hypno Buddies Group. We're relaunching the IG Business Networking Groups, and there's the 20+ hours of business and practice management training as part of the core curriculum itself. All right, here's how it breaks down. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you. So you have programs. The main program is hypnotherapist, then clinical, then transpersonal. These are in approximately 7-week chunks for every 100 hours. The online video passcodes, I think that's referring to classes. So like Jenny said, during every 100 hours, you have 6 total hours of online live classes where you are logging passcodes essentially. And there's a section exam for every 100 hours. The practical weekends occur. They're 10-hour days. They go by really fast. It's 8:30 to 6:30, 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., but they zip right by. So it's 30 hours done on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You do that approximately every 6 weeks. You come in again for practicals. And when it's all said and done, you have 150 practical hours. We've actually worked with classmates and supervisors and instructors. And then again, all the online training, which is 350 total hours. So 5 major sections, but the 3 state license programs, again, are hypnotherapist, clinical, and transpersonal hypnotherapist. For the very final exam, you'll be eligible to take it after 300 hours, but you're not going to be ready to take it then. So almost every student takes the exam at the practicals weekend of transpersonal. So even if you're not doing transpersonal, which 95% of our students do, but if you're not into that kind of thing, we respect that. So you can just show up for practicals online or in-house, take your exam then. You're going to want the time to study for it. Virtually nobody is ready to take that exam at the end of 300 hours. So while you're learning clinical and transpersonal, you are also preparing for that final exam. Again, 90+% of our graduates get over a 90%, so nothing to worry about. Okay, let's welcome in Monica. Thanks for waiting patiently. So hello, Monica. Monica's been with me since when?
Since 19, oh goodness. No, sir. You're not going to trap me in that. No, I've been around for a minute. Yeah. So it's been about 9 years, but you'll all be seeing the last of me. I'm going to be retiring after this enrollment. But I have been your first point of contact, your admissions representative. My other cohort in admissions is Leslie Lehrman. You're going to meet her in a minute, and she's delightful, intelligent, wonderful, and you're going to just love her. So I feel really good about where this is going. But let's just talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts, right? Like there's all this conversation about what to expect after you become a student, but nothing about how do I even get there? How do I do that? You want to understand, of course, that there are no prior degrees or credentials required. This is a big load off your mind and shoulders. Everything is contained within this training. Everything that you're going to need to be able to practice confidently and competently and remain comfortably within the boundaries of law and ethics, your own personal sense of integrity. You're going to be able to represent yourself that way in integrity, knowing that you've got a very high level training in hypnotherapy. When, I always tell people, because they ask me this, if you put in like 2 words into a search line, hypnosis and training, I shudder to think the number of hits you'll get back. I bet you it's in the tens or many tens of thousands. And like more than 99% of them are just not for you, not what you are going to be doing. They're great for somebody who wants to have a little hobby or something nice to do, fun with a party or friends or whatever. I'm not throwing any shade, but what I'm saying is this is a high level training for people who are looking to create a career. And as Matthew said many times, that state licensure is the thing that sets us apart. And when you're looking for a career level training in hypnotherapy, you want to make sure that that training is licensed through the State Department of Education. I always tell people it's real simple. Cut the wheat from the chaff. If you don't see that DOE license number on that website that you're on, click off. You're in the wrong place already. And that's just going to make your life a little bit easier. So as Matthew and Jenny had said, the training provides you with a blended approach to training. You have a combination of asynchronous and synchronous training there so that you can continue to live your life. Like we don't train kids out of high school who don't have responsibilities, who don't have kids and jobs and all this stuff that they have to balance, right? And you can turn around and you can say to your boss, look, I'm going to go and acquire this new skill. Just keep my job open for me. And I'm going to be gone for the next several months, because they're not going to want to hear that, right? Same thing with your kids. You're not going to want to miss that soccer game or that recital. And you're always, torn between your responsibilities, which ones to prioritize. With our training, you don't have to do that. I think that's a huge difference. And I don't think we can stress that enough, that you can literally, balance your life and improve your own, knowledge and education without sacrificing the things that are so important to keep going. So that's very important. We'll provide you, when we speak, I'll provide you with a link to the current course catalog. This is a document that we provide every student with. It's a very information-rich environment. It's long, I'll give you that. I'm not going to tell you that you have to read it word for word, page for page. It's a searchable PDF, so you can literally go ahead and surf through that document for the information you want when you want it. And the link I'll provide you will make it so that no matter how, what edition that document is in, you're always going to have access to the latest version of it. So I think that's important. Pricing is something everybody's always wondering about and nobody likes to talk about, but I'm going there. So right now, currently pricing is $18.50 per training hour. And the reason I make that little, qualification, place an asterisk there, is after this January class, it will be going up. We don't like to take price increases. And frankly, in the whole 9 years I've been in this job, but we've only taken less than a handful of them. But when you have to, you have to. So it's going to be going up to $19.50 per training hour, starting with the April enrollment. We do have 4 enrollments a year. So if January is too soon for you, I don't want you to panic or anything like that, because there's January, April, June, and September. But this particular enrollment that we're doing right now is the last you're going to see of that $18.50. So how does that, if you go ahead and price that out, each module then is $1,850 right now. You're not expected, even if you're planning on doing a 500-hour training, you're not expected to pay for all your modules at one time. You'll pay as you go. Matthew was saying, you'll take your module, a minute ago he was saying, you'll take your module, you work in that module. And when you get close to the end of that module, you'll receive a link. As a student, you'll receive a link in your email that gives you the opportunity to tap that link and pay for the next module, get it ready to open. Now, Julie asked a little while ago, she said, I hope she's still out there, Julie, hey. She said, where should we be with module 1 before our first class on the 25th? Nothing is expected of you prior to the first class. If we've already talked and if you've already enrolled, I've given you some access. That gives you sort of a sneak peek, the ability to kind of work ahead a little bit. That's great. Maybe see if you have a comfort level or gain a comfort level with the online learning environment. Sometimes that's a little bit of a challenge for some people, but I wouldn't say that to expect it to be challenging, because it couldn't be easier. And just to gain, maybe a little bit of a sense of how you'll be able to fit it into your life, so that it's not all coming at you at one time. Starting on the 25th, you're going to have a 1-hour orientation, and then you're going to dive right in. You're full-fledged students by that time, so you'll dive right in. When you enroll for training, you and I are going to have a phone conversation, a phone appointment, if you want to call it that. Budget 15 minutes for that, unless you have extra questions. My time is your time. I'm not going to, answer other calls while I'm talking to you or do anything else while I'm talking to you. Everything will wait until you and I are done, and then I'll go ahead and follow up with anything I might have missed during our conversation. So, if you have questions for me, just hit me up, and I'm here to help in any way I can. During our phone conversation, I'm going to go over a few things with you. One of those is the enrollment agreement. This is a document that, if you want to call it, we use to say anchor your student file. It's just very easy to complete. It comes to you as a secure through a secure signing service called Adobe Echo, or no, it's not. Yeah, Adobe Echo Sign. And I think a lot of people are familiar with those now. You don't have to print and fax like, Wilma Flintstone anymore. You can just do the whole thing on your phone or your tablet or your laptop, and it shouldn't take you too long. You can bang it out, and it comes right back and automatically loads itself in your student file, where the Department of Education inspectors can find it when they come and randomly pull files to make sure that we're in compliance. You can reserve a seat with a deposit of $300 anytime. That's a great way to get started. When you reserve your seat, we'll go ahead and open the first 20 hours of training, so you can, as I say, get your feet wet a little bit and gain a comfort level. So that's something that a lot of people like to do. And then before day one, we'll just have to have you make up the difference between that $300 and that $1,850, so we can open the balance of your module. If you don't plan on paying that way, some people just don't because their budgets don't allow for that. You can finance your training. We have financing available. The down payment for that is $600, which is very user-friendly. And then the monthly payments are $295.59 a month for a maximum loan term of 36 months. Why do I say maximum loan term? Well, because it's a simple interest loan. If you were to shorten the loan term by, paying more per month, then the only result would be that your gross amount of interest paid on your loan would be lower. It doesn't front load interest like some loans do, and it doesn't compound, and there's no fees or penalties for retiring the loan early. Whatever works best for you is what we want you to be doing. But as I said, the maximum loan term is 36 months. You do have to have a credit score of 600 or above for that. Now, I will say we don't pull credit here. We haven't heretofore. After what happens after I go, I don't know. But what we do is we allow you, because you get a free credit pull anyways, and it doesn't hit your credit. I never could make sense of that, where if somebody pulls your credit to see your credit worthiness, it automatically negatively affects your credit worthiness, and that's just doesn't make sense, and it costs you money. When you have a free credit pull, go ahead and grab a screenshot of your credit score on Credit Karma or whatever free credit reporting you have, and you can send it over to us in an email. We'll append that to your student file, and that's sufficient for us. I want you to know that we do, by the way, now that we're talking about all this stuff you're telling me about yourself, I don't want you to think that we share any of your information outside of the school, because we absolutely do not. Your contact information, other members of Institute staff will have access to it, so they can contact you on school business. And of course, your fellow students, if they're going to start study groups or maybe want to share class notes, that's perfectly fine. But if you start getting random emails like from online psychics or river cruise companies or something like that, we didn't do that. That's not us. Don't come blaming Monica. And then finally, I think we'll talk about, your tax deduction, because this is a business training expense, and it's important. Every time you make a payment towards your tuition, you'll be receiving a copy of your receipt in an email. And I like to, just advise all of our students, I'm not an accountant, but I advise all of our students to make sure that they, save a copy of that. Put it on a separate file folder on your Gmail or whatever you're using. Because at year end, if you've opened a related business, then your accountant will be using that as a business training expense, as a deduction against that related business. Again, I'm not an accountant and I don't claim to be, but go ahead and run that by whoever's doing your taxes and make sure. You're not going to get a 1098-T at the end of the year. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So they're going to want those receipts. And unless I see Louie's here. Hi, Louie. Good to see you, Louie. Celine, I'll be looking forward to speaking with you soon. So unless anybody has any additional questions for me, I'm throwing it back to Matthew.
Nice. Thank you so much, Monica. I appreciate that. Oh, we're getting an echo. I will. Let's see. Let me just shut your mic for a moment, Monica. So yeah, Julie had asked related to Monica's section, well, our class prices stay the same even if we pay as we go, or will they increase in April? The prices will stay the same. So if you enroll in if you enroll in January, you are within the January enrollment agreement, which is legally binding. So we don't raise the rates for current students. So it'll only be if you signed an enrollment agreement for April, then you'd be bound by that enrollment agreement. So it's legally binding, meaning we can't change it, you can change it. It's like a contract you enter into with the school that the Department of Education is governing. So you're protected for the amount of tuition that you enrolled in. If you, for some reason, withdrew and then came back in, you'd sign a new enrollment agreement and you'd be bound to that current tuition. So no, tuition does not go up for current students. I always encourage our graduates, build your client list till you have like 15 clients per week at whatever hourly rate you were charging. When you raise your rates, don't do it for those people who are your current clients, but you can do it for all new people. I don't feel like it's ethical to have a client who's really dependent on you, and then you say, oh, by the way, you got to pay more money. So same thing with education. Whatever rate you enroll in is the rate that you would stay with. Monica had said that you would meet Leslie. So Leslie, give me a thumbs up if that's cool. I don't know if she expected to be on. All right, great. Leslie is taking over for Monica. She's a relatively recent graduate. And we sent out, when Monica said she was going to retire months ago, she gave us plenty of notice. Thank you, Monica. Tough shoes to fill. So when she said she was going to be retiring, I sent out an email to our graduates and said, hey, Monica's job is open if anybody's interested in being in admissions. We've got a lot of people who are interested, and there's beautiful sentiments of all the people who want to be on the team. And our team, we all interviewed Leslie, and everybody was like, yes, Leslie is amazing. So Leslie, what would you like to share with our peeps?
I would just like to say hello, everyone, and I cannot wait to get to work with anyone who is still interested in admissions post Monica, and I will be working with Jenny. So even if you are out of the admissions pipeline and into the student pipeline, I look forward to working with you, and I can't wait to have a lovely relationship together.
Nice. Thank you so much, Leslie. Leslie has her MBA, Jenny has her MBA, and Danny has her MBA. So we've got 3 MBAs on our core team with Corey, who's our marketing person. So it's like the core team. So you've met a handful of the core team. Amazing people, as you can tell. And then, you have that team of supervisors, supervisor aides, instructors, examiners, and mentors who take you through this training. So when it started, it was just me. Now it's this amazing team. And thank you, everybody, for being here with us tonight. Here's the page to reach out to us. So Monica's with us through the January enrollment. After that, you get to work with lovely Leslie. You can visit us at instituteofhypnotherapy.com. That's the primary website for the school. Interpersonalhypnotherapy.com takes you to the association. Onlinemonastery.com takes you to some of the deeper spiritual teachings I offer. And remember the Illuminated Mind podcast if you'd like to go deeper as well. So plenty of resources, even if you're not enrolling right now. And if there's anything I can do for you personally, feel free to reach out to the school. They forward your email to me. And if there's any questions or anything I can do, I'm happy to be there for you as much as possible. And I sincerely look forward to starting our group. It will be me and Danny starting your group on January the 25th for those of you who are enrolled in that class. Any last questions before we close down the meeting room? I almost forgot that part. Any last questions, comments, sharing, silly sayings, snide remarks? I had a teacher who used to say, any questions, comments, silly sayings, or snide remarks? So I'm not seeing anything. We'll give you just a minute. Once we close this meeting room, then everything goes away. So it's your last chance. All right, feel free to give us a call at 800-551-9247 if you do have other questions. And great, Lou, or Louie, I think Monica said is how you pronounce it. Just glad you're so excited. Can't wait to get to know everybody. And then we have our May conference in Tampa at the Hilton, May 26th to the 28th. I will be there live. So if I don't get to meet you online or whatnot, definitely get to meet you in person for the May conference. Again, anybody can attend that. You can learn more at interpersonalhypnotherapy.com. Great. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Monica, Leslie, Jenny, and Danny, if you're still here. Good night, all.